Hello, good morning students. I am very happy that you are listening to my class. I am Mrs.V.Lalithambigai, Assistant Professor of English. I work at the Standard 5 Works Rajaratnam College for Women, Sivagasi. So today's lecture is about our classic poet Edmund Spenser. So 16th century poet Edmund Spenser. So before moving on, before starting with the introduction to Edmund Spenser, I would call upon you to remember the point that the Elizabethan poetry from English literature was one of the greatest of achievements which was put forward by the literateurs of England. So following that logic, Edmund Spenser was rightly called poet's poet. So he, in his time, he had the passion and he accomplished and he was able to achieve in the field of poetry that he was he wrote as many as 7 books as a classic epic. So it's a pastoral epic. So in today's lecture, let us I am beginning with the introduction to the greatest poet of the Elizabethan times, that is Edmund Spenser. So I start with the start with the introduction to the poet. So he was the greatest poet of the 16th century, so 16th and 17th. He was born in the year 1592 and he was rightly acclaimed to be the greatest poet of the Elizabethan times. So he until present, Edmund Spenser is considered one of the core poets of English literature, and his poems are also used as media for English language teaching. So it was one of his remarkable contribution, the signature contribution of Edmund Spenser was the stanza, that is the Spenserian stanza, which Spenser introduced during the times of during the Shakespearean times, that is the Spenserian stanza, which he wrote in the following the rhyme scheme of AB, BA, BC, CB and CC. So it is a 9-lined stanza. It is written in the iambic. So to be on the standards, it's a 7-line stanza, and sometimes he employs the Alexandrine. The Alexandrine line completes the Spenserian stanza at the purpose intended by the poet. So he was also he was not a poet of the armchair. He was one among the primary poets who understood the suffering and understood the heart of the people. So he was he wrote prose, and he worked in various levels in the court of in the English court, and not only in the English court but also as a page and as a spy at levels decided by the king of the time. So some of the major works which should be learnt by a student of literature are as follows. The works of Edmund Spenser are the Shepherd's Calendar, which was written and published in the year 1579, and the Faerie Queene, which was written in 6 books, and the 7th book which Spenser could not complete, and then Spenser had also translated works from French. So his writings, Les Antiques de Rome, written by Joachim du Bellay. So Les Antiques de Rome, written by Joachim du Bellay, was translated by Edmund Spenser. So this was one of his popular contribution, which reached a lot of people, and he was able to communicate his thoughts to a lot of people in England. And Spenser's remarkable poetic collection celebrating the form sonnet, the sonnet sequence. So it is Amirati. So students might be familiar with the sonnet and its sequences. Okay, a sonnet is a 14-lined poem in English, and in the Elizabethan times, sonnet became a popular literary form through which poets brought in the essence of Renaissance from the Romance nations. So the Renaissance spirit was brought into England through the sonnet sequences, and Spenser again became the primary poet. Again, he became the primary, the lead poet through the publication of his poems Amirati, okay, which was published in the year 1594. And moving on to some common works which Spenser wrote to communicate, to be among the people of the Elizabethan times. That is prose, a view of present state of Ireland, and Complaints, a collection of poems. So these were some of the poems which were written by Spenser for a popular ground to earth communication. So Spenser was thus good, and he became he was rightly called as the poet's poet in various in his adept quality of adapting the literary form to suit all levels of readers, right from the courtroom, right from the king's court, and to the dining room of the bourgeoisie, and to the reading table of the commoner, and to the pleasure times of the collier, and so on. So he was an epic poet, as well as he was a poet of the masses. So some of the most significant work written by Spenser was his Faerie Queene, and Spenser wrote his Faerie Queene in the form of, he divided it into 6 complete books, and he could not complete the 7th book. So the 7th book was published posthumously, and the Faerie Queene was a pastoral epic. So now I'd like to call upon the students to give some your understanding about what a pastoral epic is. Okay, so what is a pastoral epic? So you might be at this stage you might be familiar about the term epic. Okay, so epic is a poem written in a grand and ornate style. So it is a carefully written, carefully constructed poem to suit a grand occasion, to celebrate an occasion, to suit a grand commemoration, okay, to celebrate a festival, or celebrate the wedding of a great person, or commemoration of a nation. Okay, so see for example, the recent conclusion of our Olympics 2024. Okay, so one of you might come upon with your students' epic about the achievement of the Indian players in the Olympic 2024. So you can try your hand writing a carefully constructed epic celebrating our sports achievement. Okay, the medals won by the 6 medals won by our Indian players. So that becomes a student's epic. Okay, so following that logic, so I gave an example for you to relate it with the news of our times. So now what is a pastoral epic? The pastoral, the word pastoral comes from the Latin origin pasture, which means the grazing land. Okay, the grazing land. Okay, so what is a grazing land? And what is the role of a poet in it? And what role does the pastoral epic serve in the life of the readers? And why is it important for a student to know what a pastoral epic is? Okay, so a pastoral epic is an epic which is written with the background of a pastoralism. Okay, so the characters which are devised by the poet, they move in and around the grazing land or the ideal Arcadia. Okay, so it is a land or an imaginary land in which everything is perfect. Okay, it's completely green and it's full of orchards and boulevards, and it's full of fruits and vines, and it's full of trees and grass, and it is it is like it is, the characters are the mythological shepherds and shepherdesses, and gods and goddesses coming in gods and goddesses coming in their human form. They take upon a masked version, and they appear to the persons appear to the shepherds and shepherdesses and the commoners for a purpose. Okay, so miracles are common here. Okay, so every time a person overcomes, encounters a problem, there comes a miraculist. Okay, so they come in. They are, Spenser's Faerie Queene. Now coming to the point in discussion, that is the Spenser's Faerie Queene. It is written in 6 books, and the 7th book is incomplete. Now I hope you have a good understanding of a pastoral epic. Now book 1 until book 6. Okay, book 1 to book 6, Spenser divided this book based upon, it is written around one virtue each. Okay, one book focuses on one virtue each, and the virtue is upheld by a person, the hero or the protagonist in the book, and it is the protagonist lives by the ideal of the virtue, and he or the protagonist, may be a male or a female person, saves the lot, saves the day by a sudden remarkable appearance, the characteristic trait, makes the day by saving the persons or making them overcome the problem, or making them solve the hurdle, making them jump over the hurdle and solve the problem, or reaching the end of the challenge. So it's like in each book one virtue is hailed and the other one virtue is praised, and the evil is put down. The divine force coming down to help the humans overcome, all the good coming together to put down the evil. So that is the common theme which can be found in the book, from book number 1 to 6. So this has been I summarized the theme line of all the books for a better understanding and a good standpoint from which you can get a good understanding of all the books. So when looked at from this point of view, it's clear to study who is the protagonist and who represents the good, and who has to be the divine force is trying to put down throughout the 6 books. So this is the theme, the theme in Spenser's Faerie Queene. Okay, so in book first, that is the first book, the protagonist is the Red Cross Knight. So he represents truth or the divine strength or the truth. So the Red Cross Knight comes in the first book, and the second book, Sir Guyon appears. So he represents the virtue of temperance. And third book, the protagonist is the female Britomart who stands for the virtue chastity, who represents the virtue chastity. And book 4 is about the virtue of friendship. So it's about the friendship of Sir Triamond and Campbell. Then book 5 is about the virtue of justice, which hides about the justice of the protagonist Sir Artegal. And book 6 is about the virtue of courtesy. So the protagonist is Sir Calidore. So this is an overview about the 6 books. Now, the framework of Spenser's Faerie Queene is the the framework is King Arthur is thus is the most King Arthur is the person who is present in all the books, the person who makes his prevalence in the best manner, who is the most commanding person, also the most benevolent person, a king who appears like a god to all these protagonists. So the framework is King Arthur and his 12 knights. So that is the framework of Spenser's Faerie Queene. So King Arthur and his 12 knights having been taken by Spenser as the framework. So the 6 books, each book stand for one knight, and the adventure is present in the environ, and it is completed, it's taken up as a challenge by the protagonist, and the challenge is overcome, and in the process of performing the challenge or undertaking and toiling at the challenge, each knight is saving the grace and saving the people and bringing to see the light of the day, bringing them to the better prospects and saving them from impending danger and making them live to see the light of the day. So having seen the King Arthur and his knights as the framework of these 6 books, now I move on to name some of the important characters in Spenser's The Faerie Queene. So Lady Una, Britomart, King Arthur, Sir Gawain and Sir Calidore are some of the significant characters who take up the cause of good to win over the evil. Significant themes which are present in Spenser's Faerie Queene are pastoralism and religion. Okay. As an allegorical work, Spenser's Faerie Queene, it exhibits a twofold allegory or a bifold allegory. It is a political allegory and it is also a religious allegory. Moving into the depth of the meaning intended by the author, Spenser's Faerie Queene may also be called as a spiritual allegory, which is meant for the reading of the humanity. So, but specifically speaking, Spenser's Faerie Queene, it's about the 16th century religion. It is directly using the mythological vehicle as an allegorical, an allusional reference to attack the fight or the quarrel between the prevailing religious conditions of the time. So the theme of valor is present through all the 6 books. So theme of valor can be found in book number right from book number 1 to book number 6. So valor is acknowledged to be the essential quality, essential virtue, only in the presence of which the other virtues can be guarded. So that is, King Arthur acknowledges the valor and the bravery of all the knights at the successful completion of their adventures. So King Arthur's exploits, King Arthur's success and his victory can be hailed through the allusive characters and the symbolic elements used by faerie Queene. For example, the symbol of the dragon, the symbol of the orchard, the symbol of the reference to the knots and the mirage in the Spenser's faerie Queene are some of the most important symbols. So thank you students for listening to an overview and detailed discussion for an introductory class about the faerie Queene. Okay. So you can listen to, after listening to this video, you can start reading with the focus on the mythological aspects in the faerie Queene. Okay, so I think in my next lecture I will we can start with do with the book-wise summary. Okay, and the detailed thematic discussion. So today's lecture was about the introduction to Edmund Spenser and the introduction to the faerie Queene. So hope you have understood my lecture. So you can post your questions in the discussion box.